Below is a fresh, fully rewritten, fully original 3-act YouTube voiceover script, 1,400 to 1,700 words written in natural American storytelling tone with cinematic dialogue, emotional flow, and a strong hook-twist climax structure. All names, places, companies, and details have been changed completely for exclusivity. Voiceover script approx. 1550 to 1650 words. Title: The Day a Girl in a Hoodie Took Down an Entire Airline. You ever have one of those moments where a stranger looks at you like you wandered into a room you were never supposed to see? Yeah, that's how my day started. One sentence tossed at me like a piece of trash right there in first class. Sweetheart, you're in the wrong section. Folks like you belong in the back. And for a second, the whole cabin went quiet like even the plane held its breath. The guy who said it, Victor Langford, stood over me with the confidence of someone who's never heard the word no in his entire life. Expensive suit, shiny watch, that smug half-smile people get when they're convinced the universe was designed specifically for them. And me, I was sitting in seat 1A, wearing a beat-up hoodie, jeans and sneakers older than his haircut. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just said, "Sir, this is my seat," paid in full. He gave me this laugh, a cold, wet sound, and said, "Right. And I'm the King of England." You know that type of laugh, right? The kind that tells you they already decided who you are before you even opened your mouth. What Victor didn't know, what nobody in that cabin knew, was this: I owned the plane. I owned the airline. And he had just volunteered himself for the most expensive mistake of his life. But let me back up. Because for you to understand how we got here, you need to know who I used to be. Before money, before power, before any of this. Yes, Act 1, the girl nobody took seriously. My name is Harper Lane. And I grew up in a neighborhood where dreams were things you borrowed, not things you owned. My mom worked 2 jobs, we split a bedroom with my little sister, and most nights dinner was whatever we could afford from the corner store. But even then, I had this stubborn streak in me, this quiet fire that said, they don't get to choose how far you go. When I was 9, my mom took me to a fancy restaurant to celebrate me getting into a gifted STEM summer program. She had saved for months. She even ironed my hand-me-down dress 3 times to make sure it looked new. But when we got there, the hostess took one look at us and said, "I'm sorry, we don't serve walk-ins." Behind her, I could see empty tables. Not 1, not 2, a whole section. My mom tried again. "It's for a special night, for my daughter." The hostess smiled that tight, fake smile and said, "There's a diner down the street. Much more your style." I didn't understand everything in that moment, but I understood one thing: she was telling us we didn't belong. And that night I promised myself I'd build something, own something, control something, so nobody would ever make my family feel that small again. Fast forward 16 years. I built a tech company from scratch, sold it, built another, sold that one too. Then I started buying businesses that had long histories of mistreating people who looked like me, sounded like me, or came from where I came from. And that is how I quietly bought out Skyrise Air, the airline I was sitting on the day Victor decided I should go sit in the back. When I stepped onto that plane, I wasn't trying to cause trouble. I wasn't testing anyone. I just wanted to see how passengers were being treated before I introduced major reforms on Monday. Hoodie on headphones in low profile. That was the plan. But life loves its plot twists. Act 2, the spark that lit the fuse. Back on the plane, Victor kept going like he was auditioning for a villain role. "People pay real money for this seat," he said. "You can't just sneak up here." I said, "I paid the same as anyone else." He shot back, "Sure you did." A few passengers started watching phones half raised. You could feel that weird, guilty tension in the air. The kind people pretend they don't notice even while leaning forward to watch. Then the flight attendant, Marissa Holt, approached. She gave Victor the kind of smile reserved for folks whose bank accounts glow. She gave me the kind of look you give someone about to be told to move along, please. "Ma'am," she said to me, "I'm going to need to verify your payment method." I said, "Why?" "Your booking was flagged." Flagged how? "It's just procedure." It wasn't. There was no such procedure. She made it up on the spot because my hoodie and my skin tone made fraud risk more believable to her than legitimate first-class passenger. Victor smirked. See, even she knows something's off. That was the moment something inside me clicked. Not anger, just certainty. Certainty that this was no longer about me or a seat. This was the same story my mom lived through, the same story thousands of people live through every year. And I wasn't letting it slide. So I tapped my secure phone, sent a silent alert to federal aviation authorities, and set everything in motion. You ever feel the world shift just a little, like a storm rolling toward you? That was me in 1A, sitting still waiting. Marissa doubled down. Ma'am, if you don't come with me, I'll have to call security. Call them, I said. Calm, steady. Victor laughed. She's getting hysterical now. When airport officers boarded a few minutes later, the whole cabin turned into a theater. Cameras out, whispers, spreading, people texting friends like, "You're not going to believe this." The officers asked for my ID. I gave it to them without hesitation. "Everything appears valid," one said. Victor rolled his eyes. "Open your eyes, officer. She's clearly scamming the system." The officer frowned. "Sir, please step back." Victor didn't. Of course he didn't. "If she belonged here," he said, "you'd know." The cabin gasped. Someone muttered, "Oh my God," and that was when my phone buzzed. Federal agents were already in the terminal. The countdown had hit 0. Act 3, the reveal nobody expected. 4 agents boarded the aircraft cool and calm like they'd done this 100 times. One of them approached me and said, "Ms. Lane, we received your alert. Can you confirm you're safe?" Dead silence. Every passenger froze. Victor whispered, "Ms. Lane." Marissa blinked like she'd seen a ghost. I reached into my backpack, pulled out a slim leather folder, and handed it to the lead agent. "These documents confirm my identity," I said, "and my ownership stake in Skyrise Air." The agent nodded. Victor's jaw actually dropped. Marissa stumbled back against a seat. I stood up, turned to face them both, and said calmly, "You tried to remove the owner of the airline from her own seat because you couldn't imagine she belonged here." Nobody spoke, nobody even breathed. The agent addressed Victor first. "Sir, we have multiple recordings of you making discriminatory claims. You'll need to come with us." Victor sputtered, I didn't. She looked." I looked him in the eye and said, "Go ahead. Finish that sentence." He didn't. Marissa was shaking. "Ms. Lane, I was just trying to follow protocol." "There is no protocol that starts with assumptions," I said. "You chose to believe him over me, and now you're part of a federal investigation." Passengers watched like they were witnessing history. Some whispered, "She owned the plane." Others looked guilty for assuming I didn't belong either. I didn't yell. I didn't rage. I just spoke the truth. Every day, people get judged by someone who thinks they can read worth from clothing or skin. Today you picked the wrong girl in a hoodie. The agents escorted Victor off first. Cameras flashed. Marissa followed, wiping her eyes, and the cabin exhaled like a weight had lifted. Skyrise Air went through the biggest overhaul in its history after that day. New training, new policies, new accountability. And yeah, some folks said I overreacted, that I used my power too harshly. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. That's for people like you to decide. But here's what I do know. If I stayed quiet, nothing would have changed. And someone else sitting in a hoodie just trying to get where they're going would have paid the price instead. Call to action, emotional plus controversial hook. So let me ask you, what do you think? Did Victor and Marissa deserve what happened? Did I go too far? Or is this exactly what it takes to break a system built on assumptions? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue, debate. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever been judged, underestimated, or pushed aside because someone decided you didn't belong, share that too. Stories like these don't change the world alone. People do. Like, subscribe, and send this to someone who needs a reminder. Sometimes the girl in the hoodie owns the whole damn plane.